Paakin tämä on siellä. Laatti siihen. Onko mennä oman teille? Mutta tulee niin kuin teillekin on. Ahvat sitten vaan. Kun kaiket tässä. Niin on. Isko eitsi, niin voi ette. Ei vaan se on teebeesit. Ei sekin ne, että tommonen. Voi on kaiken on. Mä oon jo matstamme on puetti. Eli paljon magia asti. Maakot tulee, kun on kaikki niin. Voi tässä maa. Voi. Täp minä kun muuku voinut. Voiko nenä kama. Tänä vatsa.
Niin kuin.
Ai niin kuin nenä kama. Ei jäi. Ja miettii, I just wanna, for you that didn't understand that there's not much people that don't speak in our language, some of us. I asked these boys to do 2 songs, pipe song, and I don't know what the other one they want to sing. And this afternoon, after lunch, these other 2 drums will take care of it throughout the day. So that's the way I want them to do it. So. But right now we'll go to a pipe song.
Yeah.
Eso comité, marketing, event, aina katsoa nuntia. Minä olen vapaa, kenenkään ei voi. Se minä olen ne kiisi kappua. Me kokeilemaan vaan minä olen voinut. Ja ne tuk. Me tehdään vaan. Ei se kokeilemaan tekee aattu voinut. Ei niissä maa mitään voi näkee. Äänes. Teille voinut niitä. Aasektiin ollut. Sitten sekä näkee kuva. Kasvenie. Siinä on. Meistä kaatue. Sammeenta syntäsi. Nuumoksaue. Me kokeilemaan vaan minä olen. Kymmenen nähnissä minä olen. Voi. Ei se voi yksi tekee, kun voi tehdä omakin se aina. Olen oma. Tämä. Miksi käykääset? Miksi on täynnä? Vaavanam. Näkee. Joutumat. Tahko tekee aattu vainoon. Nämä on vainoon makuun. Vainoon. Ja koko enemmän saa. No. Kyllä minä et ole katsoa. Näitä maalle. Hakevat se vainoon. Ja koko enemmän kolmen kymmenen maa. Eikä no mennä vaan. Eikä vesi tehdä vaan. Ja koko vainoon. Saanut näkee. Niin koko vainoon. Sitten kai kaasat vastaamaan. Sitten me nähköni katsoa. Vainoon pokala. Hakevat teino. Taksumi manuun. Niin vainoon minti kuoja. Entä peatte? Oikein kisnaape. Ei no. Mä olen koko senmintaa. Ja koko senmintaa kymmenen. Joo. Tapi sentuhan näin tokkasaa. Ei noksa kuule. Sieltä no. Eikä et tokkasaa tulla. Voi nuomat, jotka ei se sinne kaasa. Oikein on. Kukkumisnaan. Oikein on. Ei se koen on kymmenen tänne tuttu. Vai miksi on koen on minä? Emme ei ajattelu. Näin minun vuoteen niitä kakasta enemmän vuodessa kokee vain on maa. Taapia nunnakke. Haake ei naassa. Otis niitä muottua. Ei naa. Kyllä niistä ne muotti ei noe. Minä on matsisiin. Vain on maa. En taapanta mun keivu. Kiinnet naa menee siihen keivukin meidän. Hakeinoa. Me makeinoa. Kymmenen tukkeina vuotta. Kymmenen teina. Hakeinoa. Tiedetnum. Ei naamaakin niin nafsamain tahoina. Me nafsana main tahoina. Ogana. Nuukum. Ääneksena. Kekettue nuukum. Me ei oittue nuukum. Me enentä maahan. Väivene. Me kaakissa kauan nuukum. Äänettä voi nuukum. Me kaakissa kun se ei selsisti. Ääneksena. Se kokee nuukum. Vaistettakana naabe. Kauan kukkumissinaan. Anna muinen jokea. Voikaan vaspat. Ei ole ospokista. Omi maksanut keinoa. Eikä on tuppisintä maattuja. Ei kukin me palostanimen kauan. Kauan kauan. Kymmentä kuisia. Asnavain. Ei kun. Sebina meistä siinä. Voitais nuukum. Mitä sitä voi nuukum. Ja nuukum. Katteena nähty voi. Bueno, me pakastanda mga. Bueno, gemnes kay gate. Anis nami ang bueno. Ay, panati mga. Eh, no, sama. Ayaw, bueno. Pero ito bitin ako tiyese. Agit mit kasinda mga. Nakterbi bueno. Eme op. Eme pakastanda mga. Bueno, Meo che no è sempre senza muoto. Aya torena cramo ma che si dava na. Voi no me già. A te stigato. A te da morte stigato. A io no è no. E sono mai dorinato. Bueno, e mio ta che non mi vedi tanto bueno. We condemn them, Mato, to the church and the Mato. They must know nothing of them. Speak you no way no devil. If no nothing of them, well, I just know it. Just men, they ever training, no one that is so well. They were in men, and I to one devil. Swim at that man. The man and over the sheet every night. The man and over the arm. Awareness, we know. We're going to next to know. They will come to the town and win. Oh, we know, so we can now. Any must have in the game, we got off and number. Well, up man, just the way no more. Lost it off the way no more. Bueno, perché non è tagoni la ma è vero che sto ben questo perché e no è non è tutto altro e what's man no bueno there isn't there all this no è no tutto quello è che non canno tamo è dai go che non canno da che maybe it took a while. I'll try to translate a little. It's hard for me to translate in English because it's pretty hard to translate. But anyway, for the people that understand gibberish, we all know that what we're doing over here, the most important thing over here for the drums that we do, and all the songs that we sang, and this little basket that's for the ones that we lost from a long time ago, and to this day, this is for them. We're thinking about it because they're with us right now and listening to us. They're not really gone. They're around us. Every time we do something, they're with us. Because they know more what they're doing over here. So I want somebody to go put this in the fire. I'll know that with the backhoe. We're going to have a little feast with that basket of spiritual dish that we're having here. Katsokaa luulle, iskini kaatesti noin. There's no shortcuts that we do in our traditional ways. I work at the Family Healing Program with Ted. This is what I always teach them over there when I work over there for the clients. So there's no shortcuts. We have to finish what we do because we don't take shortcuts in our way. So that's all. That's the message I like to bring to you. Oh, need to go, yeah. There you go.
Bonjour, Pamia Beneshi, Dishnikaz, Kigon Dondame, Sagin Donji. My name is Derek Henderson. Good morning. We wish Danak, Junia Benesh for their song this morning, and Elder Tommy for opening us in a good way. Also, thank you to Chief Lynn Indian for allowing us to be in her territory and in her community for our 3-day assembly. Again, chimigwech to all of our leadership that's here around the table, and also our visitors that are in the audience, and also to the Grand Council Treaty 3 staff for organizing the 3-day assembly here. So as we said yesterday, we need to continue the National Assembly. We have one more item that we need to address. Then I'll have Ogichita close the National Assembly. Then we'll go into our Treaty 3 Chiefs Assembly later on this morning. Just a reminder, if we can have our phones on silent. I know we're busy people, we get messages. Just out of respect for our speakers and our presenters, if you could put your phones on silent so that we can continue with our agenda this morning. So we're going to go with the National Assembly. We'll continue that this morning with the social update. Then I'll just do a brief reflection from yesterday. Then we'll get Ogichita to close the National Assembly. Then we'll go into our Treaty 3 Chiefs Assembly. So I'm going to call up Karen Foster to give us the update on the social. She was here. Okay. I thought you ran away, Karen. Go ahead. Where do you want to sit? Okay, right here? Are you going to get your team on? How are you going to do that? Or you just want to introduce them?
The social chiefs. Carrie said she had the social chiefs. And she's gonna do it. She's right there.
Give her the mic.
Bonjour. Good morning. Minwe gunebik dishnikas beba mate gijiguke ma ingini kwenske ni gani benesi kendigo. Washash can do tem kitchwanung dunji mete gande shitigui migwech minon the nag goeg de way ganag abajichiganan poganag get the ziminani gagi pakini geot migwech the nag. Ni witu kog goeg goeg magana matabeot. Migedi no ma eje na matabean oma kiwitu kogo. Good morning, everyone. I just started off again by saying my miigwech to our cultural supports that we have here, our knowledge keepers, our elders, our drums, our secret items that are part of our opening protocols and start us off in that good way. Chief Cariatitis Norwegian from Gigitchwanong Anishinaabe Nation, and I am the chair for the social file. And I look forward to the ladies are going to be providing an update today as our technicians for health and social. So, and I will sit here in support. Which.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Stasiak. I'm the Director of Health at Grand Council Treaty 3. We just want to say thank you for having us and for all the hard work of this staff. It takes a lot to put this on, and we really appreciate everyone. We have 3 things we wanted to bring to the floor. We had our Social Chiefs meeting a few weeks ago. We have sent you all a big package of our updates, but there's really 3 things we need help on and decisions made. We have 1 resolution on NIHB that we'll be presenting later, and there's a potential one on support for health transformation. Previously, it was supported at Assembly that we would do a youth withdrawal feasibility study. And so that study's been done to create a place for youth withdrawal in Treaty 3. And so that final report's done, and you're gonna get a presentation on it tomorrow, and we had a presentation on Social Chiefs. So some of the key messages were, and everyone's probably not surprised, that our communities have been telling us for a long time, our youth are facing serious gaps in access to safe, culturally grounded withdrawal and stabilization supports close to home. Many youths are still being sent far from their families or unable to access services at all, which increases risk of relapse, crisis situations, and further involvement with child welfare in the justice system. What the report recommends is the feasibility work outlines options for a Treaty 3-based youth withdrawal model, including potential locations, service design, and partnership opportunities grounded in our ways and community input. This gives us a concrete starting point to move from crisis response towards a planned, nation-led system of care for our young people. What we will be asking today for Chiefs in Assembly is to receive and endorse the Youth Withdrawal Feasibility Study final report as a guiding document for Treaty 3. Direct Ground Council Treaty 3 Health to work with communities and healing centers to develop an implementation plan and funding strategy based on the preferred model. And as you'll see from the report tomorrow, there's 3 options for models, and then a discussion around who's going to take that on and where it could be, and then confirm how you wish to be updated on progress, for example, at the next Assembly or Social Chiefs gathering. So those are the 3 items there for the feasibility study. Do you guys want to add anything about the youth withdrawal? I don't think you'll be shocked to see the results, but there are some pretty shocking statistics out there about use and substance use. And so I think it's a really great opportunity and a really good business case to build something. And then on top of that, we can expand on just the youth part of the facility. So that's was a really great report, and I look forward to that presentation. Second, we continue to hear about NIHB problems, and it's not a surprise. I think everyone is experiencing the same issues in communities. Health directors have continuously come forward to us and let us know about all the concerns with NIHB. We have our 2 ICCs here today from Thunder Bay Regional as well that deal with the issues. Some most recent, I don't know, Jillian, if you're okay with me sharing this, but it's breach of privacy is happening, and their NIHB is admitting to it. So PHIPAA laws are actually being breached, which is really, really concerning. So we're asking today, our second item, so non-insured, Treaty 3 communities and Indigenous care coordinators are facing increasing problems with the current NIHB system. These issues are affecting patient experience, delaying urgent care, and damaging trust between community members, coordinators, and NIHB analysts. We are hearing about a lack of after-hours support, problem with accommodations and direct billing, poor communication and transparency, documentation barriers, inconsistent approvals, limits on escorts and discharge planning, and multi-step approval processes that require extra signatures and delayed treatments. Other regions, including Meskapi in Quebec, the First Nations Health Authority in BC, and Akwesasne have moved to localize NIHB medical transportation teams through MOUs with ISK and the province, actually. These models show that it is possible to bring more control closer to the nation while still working with the federal program. In Treaty 3, we're proposing to explore a localized NIHB medical transportation analyst team that would be based in our territory and accountable to our governance. The first step is to complete a feasibility study, engage with the regions that are already doing this work, and design a model that fits our communities. We are asking Chiefs and Assembly to support and direct Grand Council Treaty 3 to undertake a feasibility study on localizing control of NIHB medical transportation. Direct staff to engage with Miscapi, FNHA, and Akwesasne to learn about their experience, and based on the results, consider authorizing Grand Council Treaty 3 to negotiate an MOU with ISC for a Treaty 3-based NIHB medical transportation team. And it's not from conversations, because we all have talked about health transformation, it's not impossible for us to eventually move on taking NIHB control for everything, but I think we start at a point that's our most sticking point. It'd be really great to see what we can do to take over the medical transportation side first, and what that looks like, and how many people we need. In discussions with the consultant that I have, Harmony Johnson, through Tisquat Consulting out of BC for health transformation, BC did it, and she said it's best to take on little portions at a time, because once you take it all on, you can't give it back. And so to make sure that we're prepared to take on what we want when we want. And so those are all options that we can do. So it is under our discretion, or your discretion, what you want to see and the direction you want it to move. And then the third thing we would like to bring forward is health transformation. So I was hired to move health transformation forward. We have done a lot of work on health transformation, but it's been pushed to the limits, I think, and so without forward movement, the funding's not going to last forever. We did not receive our funding last year for health transformation because we had so much unexpended from the year before, and we've been told that it's no longer going to be looked at as multi-year funding if we don't make some forward movement, have big discussions, and actually bring something to the table. So our health transformation and the development of Treaty 3 health law is what we're going to talk about now. So the work is stalled due to staff turnover, limited engagement, and then incomplete signatures on the declaration of the health law. Without renewed leadership direction and participation, we risk losing momentum and future funding for the nation-led work. Grand Council Treaty 3 is mandated to work with the 28 communities, elders, regional health organizations, community health staff, and the Treaty 3 Health Council to develop a written law grounded in Anishinaabe law and our transformation action plan. So even with challenges, an important groundwork that we've completed this past year was an identified, a very loose identified informal health governance structure was brought out of the previous engagements that have happened. The health law engagement reports have been reviewed to assess community readiness. We have completed 20 engagements with 11 communities left, and I have 11 communities left that I need signatures on the health law. And so we can move work forward without having the health law completed, but they have to move in unison. And the health law will outline the governance structure of health in Treaty 3 and how we have any conflict resolution, complaints, how we're gonna assign people to a board. So it all has to work together, but there's big decisions that really need to be made, and it's a lot of work. It's bigger than, when I think about it, it's a huge a huge amount of work that I can't even fathom. So it's going to take a lot of people coming together to make it work. But we're trying to devise a plan to split it up to make it more digestible so that we can make decisions on parts of it at a time. So the health law or the health service coordination table has been restarted and a political advisory table has been initiated. And so the idea behind that was the health service coordination table was already in existence and just needed to be restarted. And it's all the executive directors and leaders from the service organizations in Treaty 3 to get together and talk about common issues, gaps in service, funding, and then discuss health transformation. And then the political advisory table came together, and it was the social chiefs that came, and Elder Fred Kelly was there, Don Jones was there, Calvin Morrisseau was there, and it's just to advise on moving health transformation forward. It's not a decision-making table, but we are looking to potentially ask more to join so that we had more voices, just in case there's always stuff that comes up and people can't make it. And so we're just wanting to ask for more support in that table as well. We had meetings with Harmony Johnson and Sarah Mainville with JFK Law to support gatherings and governance design. And we have a draft MOU that's been prepared for Political Advisory Committee and the Health Service Coordination Table to work together. It was originally supposed to be a relationship agreement, but we've decided to shift it to an MOU. And what we need from the chiefs today, to move forward, we need clear and defined political direction from this assembly. Specifically, we are seeking for your support on 6 areas. So 1 is to reaffirm the health transformation mandate and declaration. So reaffirm our commitment to health transformation and to the health declaration, and ask all remaining First Nations to sign the declaration in a set time frame. Authorize a health systems mapping project. So I really do think it's important that we map all the funding that everyone's getting to see where our gaps are, and to plan for the future on what we might need for funding from all governments. So that would be asking ISK, MOH, Ontario Health, and then all the organizations for their funding to map it. And then direct communities to name a lead contact to work with Grand Council Treaty 3 Health on data collection and validation. I think we have that in the Health Council, but we can decide on that. Support data sharing and technical collaboration. So support appropriate data sharing arrangements consistent with Treaty 3 data governance principles so that Grand Council Treaty 3 can access the funding and service information needed. And direct mandated health organizations to participate actively in the health service collaboration table and working groups, which I know that they have been expressed desire to do, and so we have another meeting coming up, and hopefully this month in June. Confirm and resource political and governance tables, so formally endorse and confirm membership for the political advisory table, including social chiefs or designated political leads, and direct it to provide regular updates back to chiefs in assembly. 5 is authorize finalization of key agreements and advisors. So authorize Grand Chief for Health portfolio holder to finalize and sign the draft MOU guiding the next phase of government's work, subject to any conditions. And then support the engagement of external governance, legal, and technical advisors, such as Harmony Johnson, JFK, within approved budgets. And the last one is direction on political advisory, advocacy and funding. And so it's just to direct us to advocate with ISK, MOH, Ontario Health for stable, multi-year funding for health transformation, governance development, and systems mapping. And that is all I have. Are there questions? Would anyone like me to do a separate time, like an update on health transformation, where we've come from? We had a senior officials meeting where we did have a really good outline of where we've been, where we are, what the future looks like or could look like. Because I know there's a lot of new faces to health transformation that maybe it hasn't been brought forward in a long time. Yeah? No? Yeah. Okay.
Laura, quick question. Which communities have yet to be spoken to?
I have the declaration here. I can pass it around. Yeah. And then I have the list of communities as well that I can share with everyone. I'll bring it around. we are planning on still doing. We've committed to those engagements. Everyone has the chance to, and should have the chance, to put their voice into what health transformation might look like for them. So we are committed to doing those 11 engagements, and we'll get organizing those. But we also need support in getting the response back, because it's been hard to gather enthusiasm, because I know that you guys have been doing this for a long time, and I'm new to it. But I'm trying to rally you, and I really want to move this forward, because I think it would be a great thing. It's just decisions have to be made, and there's a lot of them.
Go ahead, Chief Copenhagen.
Bonjour, Mishkweb, Indigenous Makwan, Dodem. Is it a process to get signatures, or can you just get the signatures here?
You guys can just sign it if you agree with it and you want us to move forward with this work. And yeah, I have it here. We can, yeah. I'll pass it around and get your, yeah, okay. Thank you, Miigwech.
Chief McVicker.
Bushu Ziguan Indigenous Moose Dodem, and I'm Kewa Sheng Dongji, Chief McVicker, and I'm Kewa Sheng. So the gathering with the senior officials that Laura mentioned, there were a lot of representatives from the different organizations there, and I think a light bulb kind of went off at that meeting where they started to understand what it could do and what it would mean and how important they are considered to be as part of it. I think that while we were drafting the law, we were cognizant that, not drafting, but collecting information, I would say, from the communities, that we still had to hear from all the communities. So it might have been a misstep not to just clarify with everyone what it meant to have a health authority, and that it wasn't going to be the Grand Council of Treaty 3 who would be the health authority. The clarification around that, didn't happen, and so I think people were suspicious in some ways or hesitant in some ways, didn't really understand what it could be. And I think at that meeting, you know, and through the course of all of the meetings that you've had with the agencies and service organizations, they've begun to understand and express that they could be a part of that they wanted to be a part of that. And I know and I think that the government was right to say that to us, to say, okay, we're not paying you to talk anymore. You've been talking and we're not seeing any deliverables, and we got to see. They want health transformation. They want us to be at the table because they want return on investment. The more that we are able to listen to our own people who are the clients or the customers and put in a system where their needs are being met, the greater the return will be, and the government knows that. They know that. And so we have willing partners at the other side of the table, but we have to now reaffirm that, get ourselves back into those discussions. And I know some of it has to do with chiefs, you know, change, and people need to learn. So I think it would be helpful if you did do that background story. And maybe things just had to be that way. Sometimes things happen in a certain way for a reason, right? But I've been pretty sad that it kind of stalled. And I think when I look around and I hear about health authorities in places like the Yukon and BC, and there are examples where improvements have been made, and we need to seize that opportunity ourselves, because we hear the stories. Every time we're at these meetings, we hear the stories. So if someone says, well, I'm worried about mental health in my community, I'm worried about addictions in my community, well, that's what health transformation is. That's what it is us addressing what's happening, and only our people know what's happening. And they've all given their engagements. It was done in a good way. I remember the one in my community. People were crying, people were telling their stories, and it's, in my view, it's time to keep moving, because the people who told their stories already had hope at those meetings that something's going to happen. So we can't let them down. I just think, we have to keep going, and we're not that far. I do think we probably need, and I know you'll probably include it in your budget, a person that's going to manage the project, because it's a big project, right? And I appreciated the political table that we had, Elder Fred being there, Elder Don being there. It was very, it was very positive. So I'm looking forward. I strongly urge the rest of the chiefs to sign the declaration so that we could keep moving, and so that we can get back to the table and make health transformation. Miigwech.
Thank you, Chief McVicker. Chief Carey?
Buju, I just wanted to make several comments. It was a great presentation, and I really look forward to seeing the youth withdrawal feasibility study, because I know from just experience at the community level, the level of youth gaps and services that we have for those that are struggling with mental health and addictions is pretty significant. So this is going to be an important report that we can utilize for our implementation planning and funding framework. I also support the NIHB transition. There's definitely reform that's required. We all discuss the serious issues that we deal with through NIHB at our community levels again. And then this breach of privacy laws is pretty concerning to hear about that. So localized NIHB control. This is about reform. It's about jurisdiction. It's about taking over our services. And I have some knowledge about the BC model, and it's been pretty successful. So if we could use that, again, to reiterate, using that design model as part of the transition. And for health transformation, the only thing that I would add for health transformation is the importance of us finalizing and adopting our health law. I think it's in draft currently. And this is part of our Inakunigainan, right? Our laws as Treaty 3 and developing our laws. So it's really important for us to adopt that law, and I'm recommending we bring it to our assembly in the fall. And this is about our jurisdiction, taking over jurisdiction over health. It's about nation building, and also recommending to finalize the engagement with the 11 First Nations that are remaining, and then create an implementation and transition plan on a year-to-year basis, maybe over 5 years, where we're going to go from year 1 to year 5, being fully transitioning from one to another, right? To us taking over jurisdiction in year 5, and kind of outlining what objectives we need to meet in each of those years. So that's what I would. That's what I'm putting forward as part of the planning, and. Of course, grounded in our Anishinaabe practice as we do this work, and following our customary protocols and ceremonies that we need to undertake in doing this work is always important and fundamental to the success of all the work that we do. So I just wanted to say that miigwech to these ladies for their work, and if there's any other comments, I'll defer back to Derek. Miigwech, Derek.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Laura.
So we had a question yesterday about Bruce Oak that I just wanted to let everybody know about. So that funding did sunset, but we've had meetings with them, and Bruce Oak is more than open to sharing their model or partnering in the future if we can find funding. So we'll be looking for that. But we also did get approached by EHN, which is another organization kind of like that. And I know that some communities are already utilizing them because they do virtual care as well as in person. So they have facilities in Alberta, BC, Ontario. They're not close to here, but you can purchase beds, I guess, to hold, but it's quite expensive. They were talking around $300,000 a year to hold beds for us to be able to send people to recovery. If we didn't do that, then the wait time is extremely high, up to a year. And so we're stuck again in this like phase of like we have options, but it costs a ton. Bruce Oak was happy to open more beds than we had reserved, because sometimes they would have nobody there and then needed 4 beds. And so they were flexible, and they're building a new facility, I believe, a women's facility. Yeah, but I really do think we can use this feasibility study just on the youth withdrawal to like advocate for more funding to expand our current services. We should build up what we have, because we already have great treatment centers and land-based centers, but advocating for more to make those more rounded care with aftercare programs and follow-up. And so I think we have lots of opportunity here. And same with health transformation. We have a ton of opportunity. It's just deciding how we want it to look. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I have the declaration, and I will walk around with it.
Thank you, Laura. Any other comments? Chief Breer?
Hello? Bonjour. Ogema Quest Indigenous Cause was Jashkdo Dem Metonjagaming Nindonji. I just wanted to say, great presentation. We definitely need all of those. And, if you have the resolutions, like whenever we deal with it later today. But the other issue that I was talking to Chief Leonard about is we really need transition homes in our area. And I think Rainy River First Nations has one, but I think that's something that we really need to work on. Miigwech.
Thank you, Chief Janice. We'll go to Chief Breer.
Good morning. I'd like some information or update on all this stuff, okay? And I'm going to need it because I'm not familiar a little bit with it, but not totally what our histories at Cooch with it.
Yeah.
So before I make any kind of a decision,
Yeah.
I'm going to request that you and I have a little chat here in a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
And at the community engagements as well, I can come around also and present to you, the chiefs and community about where we've been. It's not a secret. We all know that you've been working on it for a long time. It's stalled, and so I'm happy to share what we've done, where we've been, and hopefully where the future is headed. So.
Good, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Is Finn Simard online from COO? No? Okay, Karen's going to present now.
Bonjour. Ajajebik Ndijnakas Gijanan Gatuk and Dinago Bajudu Dem Negachwanan Dunji. My name is Karen Foster. I'm the Director for Social. So back in November, I attended the Joint ISK gathering in Toronto. The gathering provided excellent opportunity to network with ministry representatives, frontline workers, and organizations from across Ontario. Valuable information and updates were gathered through presentations and discussion, which were later shared with leadership within Treaty 3. We also had a gathering on January 24th in Winnipeg. It was a joint collaboration with Health and IRS. The event was well attended and focused on ending family violence within our communities. Participants engaged in meaningful discussions surrounding prevention, healing, safety, and support services for individuals and families impacted by violence. The gathering created a space for knowledge, sharing, collaboration, and strengthening community-based approaches to wellness and safety. On February 11th and 12th, I attended the National Indigenous Federal Provincial Meeting on Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and 2SL LGBTQIA+ people. The national gathering provided an important opportunity to advocate on behalf of Treaty 3 communities to ensure that the experiences, concerns, and voices from our region were heard alongside of the Indigenous nation from across Canada. Discussions focused on safety, prevention, supports for families and survivors, and the need for continued commitment from all levels of government. On February 24th and 25th, we had a gathering called Abenuchi Anakinagewin in unity for our children, families, and communities. There were representatives from funders such as ISK, MCCSS, and other partners that attended, they were able to provide presentations and information updates on funding for those in attendance. Participants included leadership, frontline workers, finance staff, and elders from our Treaty 3 communities. The gathering initiated important conversations regarding community strengths, barriers, and services, such as services needs as communities continue to advise child and family well-being initiatives to develop their own approaches and laws for children and families. In addition, the Social Department assisted the Chiefs of Ontario for their child well-being gathering in Fort Frances. The gathering provided frontline workers with an opportunity to share their experiences, challenges, and successes in supporting children and families within their communities. The discussions highlighted the importance of culturally grounded support, collaboration, and continued advocacy for improved services and resources for our children and families. Under the Child Care portfolio, the First Nations Early Year Mentors Initiative identified several training needs for the ELCC supervisors, managers, including grant writing, proposed development, finance training, and work plan development. The First Nation Early Learning Collaboration website also launched next steps, including workshop training opportunities for mentors. After the meeting with the supervisors, Megan Gould had met with the child care providers of the child care centers within the Treaty 3 earlier this month. They have identified the needs for advocacy for wages, staffing, and staff retention. Centers that are not adequately staffed are having to reduce capacity numbers to keep ratios, as well as having to close programs like after-school programs as staff are not available. Within the homelessness portfolio, the Housing Support Network established in 2026 goals included reduction in overall homelessness, Indigenous homelessness, chronic homelessness. Work is also underway to develop a regional homeless anti-stigma campaign. The next steps include reviewing current collection tools and identifying priority data needs. Under income assistance, the Employment Table Working Group reviewed results from the recent engagement surveys, which received 206 responses in the first survey and 108 responses in the Northern Ontario survey, with only 2 Treaty 3 communities participating. The terms of reference for the Joint Table on Employment Services has been drafted and is under the ministry review. Additional engagement sessions and a third round of surveys is being planned with Grand Council Treaty 3 supporting community awareness and participation. Miigwech.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions or comments for that? Again, a lot of this information is on the iPad if you want to take a look at it. Okay, one comment, Chief, Carrie?
I just have a quick comment. One, just to reaffirm our recommendation to have quarterly social chiefs meetings. And then secondly, Binochi Nakunagewan, the importance of Binochi Nakunagewan as our law for our nation, our child care law, and that's asserting jurisdiction over children and families and how that supports our communities. So the implementation of that law, we need to put some energy into that work for the implementation of our Binochi Nakunagewan, especially now that we have a lot of reform happening within our nations. Like in my community, we've taken over jurisdiction over our children and families, and we're almost very close. We're 85-90% done our coordination agreement, our fiscal agreement with the federal government. So we've already assumed jurisdiction over our child and family services for our nation, and we did utilize the Binochi Nakunagewan as one of the tools for that. So, miigwech.
Thank you, Chief.
Miigwech, I also want to say miigwech to these ladies for their fabulous presentations. Let's give them a round of applause. Miigwech.
Chief Copenhagen has a question. Chief Copenhagen?
Buju, I'll be really quick. I just, you know, in Onigaming, because of our state of emergency, we have monthly trilateral calls with Ontario and Canada, and I find that they're effective. You know, again, we usually just get little pockets of dollars here and there, but again, they're helpful for communication. Are there any trilateral meetings for the state of emergency that Grand Council Treaty 3 has declared with staff or with leadership with Canada or the province at all?
I don't have state of emergency meetings, but I have trilateral ones on health transformation. But I would direct that to, is it TPU that would have those meetings? Yeah, we have Damien and Kieran for social and health, but we don't have for organized trilateral meetings. Hey, Damien? But that's actually a great point. So yes, I can speak to them as well because I usually have monthly meetings or biweekly meetings with them. So thank you. But no, the answer is no, we don't.
It is being noted, though, for the record, that that's something that comes up, so it'll be noted within our minutes. Okay, so it can be addressed to the Grand Council. Okay, well, thank you. Go ahead, Karen.
Just one more thing. I did send an email to the leadership yesterday just with regards to the Men's and Women's Council. I am the contact person if you want them to come to your community or need support from them. Feel free to contact me. Miigwech.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So we had Finn Simard was supposed to be online today to present on the 1965 welfare agreement and the OFA, correct? Yeah, but we're going to circulate that information once we get it to you. You'll all get it through an email, okay? And if you have any questions on that, you can contact Karen at the social department. And her contact information's on the website, okay? Again, thank you very much. Let's give these ladies a round of applause. I know there's a lot of work. Good. they can all breathe now. Big sigh of relief. Well, that concludes our National Assembly. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a reflection from yesterday. I know that there was a lot of topics that came up, so I know some of the chiefs weren't here yesterday, so I just wanted to share a little bit. I know we had the constituent councils provide updates on some of the areas of concern or areas that they were doing and addressing within Grand Council Treaty 3. So we want to thank those participants yesterday that presented. And there were some issues that came up regarding some of the councils. What are we doing for the men was one of the comments that was being made by some of the chiefs, with the men's council. And as what Karen was saying earlier just now today, that those councils, the men's, the women's, the 2S, and the youth can be invited to your communities so they can share and support, what you're trying to do in your communities. So they're reaching out and saying, if you need our support, if you need some information, please invite us to your communities. We'll come out there and we'll do what we can to help your councils in your communities. So that was one of the messages that came out that was pretty clear yesterday regarding those constituent reports. Also from the chiefs about inclusion, some of the chiefs were talking about inclusion with all of the councils. What are we doing to include them in some of our community events? Again, they're reaching out, if you want them to come out to your community, your powwows, send out the invitations and open the hand so they can come out to those events. Yesterday was a tough day when we had Chief Carl Big George, and one of his members talk about the drugs and the alcohol and addictions issues in the communities, not only their community, but all of our communities in Treaty 3. It is an issue. It's not something that it's only isolated to one community. I know we're all dealing with that in all of our communities. And, they're asking or looking at a strategy from Grand Council and what we can do in Grand Council to help our people, because the addictions are hurting everything, all of our aspects in our communities. It creates issues in schools, kids not attending school, work, all these things are being affected by what's happening in our communities. So we need to look at a strategy on that, on how we can deal with the drugs, alcohol, and the addictions within our communities. And there was some comment about Bruce Oaks, and I'm glad that Laura was able to speak on it. I know that they are opening a new women's part from the Bruce Oaks in Winnipeg. There's been a lot of media in Manitoba regarding that opening coming up. I think they've already broken the ground. They're going to start construction. So it's a costly center that they're developing. But we had an agreement, and now we don't have the funding to do that. So we need to figure out a way here in Grand Council. And we do have the people in Grand Council, so we can look at maybe developing our own here, having our own facility like Bruce Oak, so that our people in Grand Council can attend that. One of our elders, Fred, had spoken yesterday also about the ceremonies and who are we as Anishinaabe people in Grand Council. We need to know who we are. That was one of the other comments that was shared by our elders. We need to know who we are as Anishinaabe people. Then we wouldn't be dealing with these issues of drugs, alcohol, and addictions. Something that needs to be taught from the elders to all of our community members. So we got a lot of advice from our elders, and we always respect the elders and their advice that they give us. So we want to thank our elders here from the community of Big Grassy and Don and Fred for sharing yesterday regarding some of those issues that we're dealing with. So any other comments regarding the National Assembly? Because I want to get Ukichita to come on up, and then we can officially close our National Assembly. Chief Allen?
Bonjour. With regards to yesterday's comments regarding the drug and alcohol pandemic, I know the parents there, and I know them personally, and I don't believe they were actually adequately given a response. So I'd like to make a friendly suggestion or amendment to our governance structure. So where the committees are formed and their roles, they're tasked with different items. So when the nation reaches a certain pandemic level, why can't we all just, each of the committees work on that pandemic? That way it's constantly being addressed, not only by just certain chiefs, so that we can collectively battle this pandemic. So I'm not sure if that's something we can amend or we can change, but I think we do need to address that head on, and it can't be only just certain chiefs that are addressing it. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Chief Allen. And that'll be noted also so that our administrative staff and our political team will address it. Okay, so we'll have a response to that, to Miigwech. And it's important, of course, it's not only in that one community and that one chiefs committee that can deal with that. It should be a collaborative approach, right? Because we're dealing with it as a whole. So that's a good point you brought up, and it'll be addressed. Miigwech. Any other comments? Okay, Proxy Chief Councilor Vernon Guimond from Saging.
Good morning, everyone. Proxy Councilor Vern Guimond, representing Ogama EJ Fontaine. We talk about addictions. I have 3 siblings that's battling it right now. I lost 3 young ladies, nieces, 18-year-old to drugs. And, everybody talks about, we sit around the tables and we talk about it, but nothing is being addressed with it. It's hurting me, it's hurting our family, it's hurting our whole communities, not just ours, the whole entire across Canada. I said in every Treaty 1 table, and it's the same issue there too. Everyone has that problem with addictions. And now with all we just signed a TLE agreement, and now that we're going to have more of a crisis than anything else is the ones that receive, the 18-year-olds are the ones that are addicted, and the one that's going to benefit out of it is the dealers. And we're going to have a big issue on our hands down the road. So, I don't understand why we all don't just, you have a Bruce Oaks Foundation in Winnipeg, and yet we're going to place we can't find a place for our own community members to get that help that they need. Why can't we all just, everybody talks about being a collective, but why don't we all just do our part and build a center? And we have all we send all our kids to get the degrees, but they're never looked at. We have our problem with back home too. It's, we don't give our kids a chance, our youth a chance to develop and take lead and follow suit what we're trying to preach. It's a hard thing for me to sit here as a leader and can't do nothing. But with all us as sitting in the tables here, why can't we put all our heads together and figure out a way, to way we can try and fix it? And problem with two is with our policing. Our policing don't have jurisdiction. All they are is safety officers. All they do is just go and knock at the door, and they use CFS uses them to go and apprehend the kids. Then the RCMP follows suit. So I'm puzzled how we sit here, my 3 years already as leadership, and nothing is being done. We sit on, Sagin is on a Treaty 1, Treaty 3, and Treaty 5 territory. You know, it's a hard thing to sit here and just, where my grandfather sat, my dad sat on these tables. You know, it's just, it's not gonna get better if we don't come together and try and figure out a way how we can address this real bad issue that we are trying to battle. We got to take control of our communities. You know, once growing up in the community, we had our doors open, we slept with our doors open, and now we got to lock them. You know, that communities used to be open, and now we're closed in. Now we're in a shell where we can't get out. So for that, I'll leave it at where it is. Jimmy Gwitch. Thank you.
Miigwech. Yes, Chief Carey?
Buju? In response to that, I was just kind of side talking with Janice, and, you know, I know our community, I think there's two things we need to share and figure out who to share them with, and the mechanism by which to share them is one, the data. You know, I think it's important for us to share the data with maybe somebody at Treaty 3 to confirm how many losses we've had in our communities, each of our communities, so we can get a total number. And I'm sure it's going to be staggering, right? Like, I know, like I said, my community is a smaller community, and we were up around 42 already over the last few years in terms of losses. And then the second thing is our community, and I'm sure other communities do it as well, we spend thousands and thousands of dollars on treatment programs across the country. Like, we spend, I don't know what our number's at now, but we spend thousands of dollars on treatment programs across the country. And maybe we need to spend those thousands of dollars here within our own nation to develop our own, maybe a treatment program, invest in our own treatment program, invest in our own transition home. Let's collaborate. Let's figure out how much money each of our First Nations can contribute to a facility that we can use within our nation. We're spending that much money anyway, like thousands and I'm you know, we spend anywhere from, it can be up to even 80,000 depending on the specialized services that are being accessed with the treatment programs in Southern Ontario, in Alberta, in BC. So I think if we pool our resources, and we again have a contact hopefully from Treaty 3, that we can meet at a different time to discuss how much we can financially contribute from each of our First Nations, and let's work together on it. I mean, let's create, let's develop our own. Let's not wait for the funding. We're spending our money doing all this work, and we can continue doing that at the community level, but let's figure out how much each of us can contribute. There's 28 First Nations, and if each First Nation contributed 300,000 to 500,000, that's a lot of money that we can put into infrastructure. So, yeah, miigwech.
Miigwech, Chief. And that is a good point, right? We do send our people out to other facilities. They come back and we don't have the supports in our communities. So if we can do something home-based right here in Treaty 3. So that's noted again, Chief Carey, that the whole issue of data, the losses in our community, and take a look at maybe having another meeting to discuss the whole issue of making our own treatment center here in Treaty 3, our own transitional homes for our people to go to. Because we're going to be sending them to Alberta, we're sending them to Saskatchewan, we're sending them to Manitoba, right? So why not keep them here, build our own facility, then we have our own people dealing with our own people. So that's noted, so thank you for that. Chief Leonard?
Good morning, Jim Leonard, Chief Rainy River
just to follow up what Carrie said in terms of the cost, being a new chief just coming in just shortly before Christmas, I asked our administration, how much money have we spent on treatment in the last year? I got a report there a couple weeks ago, and we spent $715,000 on treatment last year. That's money we don't have. And what we've decided to do is spend that $715,000 at home in developing programs at home, because our community is saying, we don't want our people going to British Columbia and Alberta and, you know, spending, like Carrie said, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. They go away for a few weeks, they come home, and a week later they're back at it again. So what our communities are saying, what community members are saying, let's do something at home. And what Carrie is suggesting here is let's develop something locally that, you know, if we're spending, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars per community, you know, it's going to add up if we pool that money. So with that, miigwech.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Kupanais?
Buju, could we ask staff to get a sense as to, miigwech. You know, I was just looking at some stats that my advisor just provided me, and it's $20,000 for a month at Aurora and $1,000 a day for detox. And we've spent that money too. We were lucky, we were getting reimbursed by Canada, and we must have spent a couple of $1 million, but they sent us a letter last year that they're not going to reimburse us anymore. We're going to open a sober living home in July at our powwow. Everyone's welcome to our powwow. It's the second sober living home that we've had. The first one burned down. But we've got 4 or 5 safe sober beds coming for crisis and for aftercare for addictions. I know Chief Leonard has safe sober beds as well. We actually met with your previous chief and tried to steal some lessons from you a little bit. But it'd be interesting to see how many safe sober beds that First Nations have in Treaty 3 right now, and just start doing an inventory. You know, when I heard the elder say that she doesn't see any action happening, I think what she means is that I know there's lots of action. I just don't see the coordinated action. And again, if this is the priority, and I think it is, saving lives, at least in Onigaming it is, let's come together like everyone's recommending, and let's try to put together the strategy for a treatment center in Treaty 3. I know, lastly, there's probably already a bunch of competing proposals from First Nations into Canada and Ontario for treatment centers, so maybe let's work together on one. Miigwech.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. Oh, Chief Carey, go ahead. One more, yeah, go ahead. You'll be the last one.
Sorry. Just quickly, I was just running some numbers. So let's say our nations contributed 300,000 times 28 is 8.4 million. 500,000 each times 28 is 14 million. So that's a pretty good number, right? So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Chief McVicker?
I just.
Okay.
I know I'm just going to make a comment really quick, sorry. I Googled what it's costing for the Ann Oak Center, 25 million. Yeah, 25 million. So, I mean, it's not insurmountable, but I also think, I mean, I don't know, but I think the CHRT 41 has something to do with this kind of effort. And so I want to kind of explore how we can go at that and have to get some advice. Miigwech.
Thank you, Chief McVicker. Chief Big George?
Muju, me manka miju digital cause, tikto tem. Nanga Shing. I just wanted to make a quick comment that was brought up to me from one of my members who was on the Women's Council. she mentioned that to me that maybe we should ask the staff if we could come up with some stats that each reserve has spent on sending our members out to get treatment. If maybe we can get those stats as soon as possible so we can work on this. It's an ongoing issue. I think we need to stop turning a blind eye to it and start tackling it. But yeah, I just thought that was a good idea that my member brought to me, so I just thought I'd mention it. Miigwech.
Thank you, Chief. And I'm sure the people that are already in the table over there are probably looking at getting information together already as we speak. So that's noted. Our staff are well aware that they need to look at the statistics. Okay, we have another comment from a proxy.
Bonjour, New Gambwick Nego, Wapsmung proxy. Carrie's comment. I know that for Wapsmung spent over $1 million helping out families, and I know with the help from the family services, me with the in Wapsmung. So I just want to, them to get to work, and we have to send our people out, but that is a good solution though. To get to our people with the drugs and addictions out there. So, yeah, miigwech.
Miigwech proxy. Okay, I'll get you there. Come on up and we can close the National Assembly. Then we'll take a break. Then we'll continue on to our Chief's Assembly. So again, thank you all for your participation. Lots of good information, lots of recommendations. I know our staff have noted everything that has been shared here by the chiefs, and we'll follow up with all that information to you for our next meeting.
Derek, I guess this concludes the National Assembly part of our gathering. National Assembly is an opportunity for our members of our nation to come here, observe the leadership as they conduct the affairs and business of the nation, and they're also welcome to participate and even propose motions and stuff like that. So that's the end of that session. Then we'll move into the Chiefs part of it, and Chiefs only. But I want to just say, Chimiwech, for your recap of yesterday's gathering, the dialogue, the comments made. And I too, I have empathy for listening. I was involved in child welfare as well, about 25 years as a board member and as a part of administration, but I was never at the ground level. But it was motions, different motions. You're happy someday, you're sad someday, you're crying another day, or you're angry another day. And like right now, me and my wife, we're dealing with a young man. He's 22 years old. He has ideations of leaving Mother Earth, and we've been working with him for about 3 weeks now. And before we left, he came to our house again, and we gave him, we talked to him again, and we gave him stuff to use. And he's in recovery. That's what he's saying. He's really looks good now from the first time he came to see us, so. And I've had opportunities, or I've had to de-escalate people that are on very, very high on drugs and proposing to do, terrible things, even to me, so we've had to do that too, and it's pretty sad. I know we've tried it when I was on council for over 20 years back home. And on one occasion, after a band meeting, we were told we needed to do something about drugs, alcohol, and bootleggers, drug dealers. And so we started an undercover operation where OPP officers came in dressed as Bell Canada employees. They installed cameras on poles, and they monitored the homes that were suspected of selling drugs, bootleggers. We started that, and then an election happened while we were in that process, and the incumbent chief lost the election, and the incoming chief said it was not traditional. So it was off the table, and to this day we're still dealing with that. You know, it's hard. That's why I say I have empathy for hearing all the stories around the table, and I commend you for your efforts to deal with that. And the other part too is we have Bug Lake. That's a healing camp that's in the progress. And we have 4 communities that are sponsoring that initiative. And when we talk about transitional homes, that's one of the plans once we mobilize and operationalize Bug Lake. We're going to build transitional homes in these 4 communities, and when people are done with their stay at the center, they'll go into that transitional home where there'll be professional help in there too, so they'll allow them to reintegrate at their own speed. So those are some of the plans, and I urge each and every one of you to come and visit. We just had another sweat lodge healing ceremony on Thursday. We do them, when people, a lot of these organizations in Kenora utilize Bug Lake for healing. They're burnt out. It's everybody, police, child welfare workers, and people in other fields, people that work at the hospital, that's where they come. So, I don't know, maybe by this coming fall, maybe it'll be fully operational, but it's a place for healing. We're targeting the 14 to 30-year-olds, who there's like a revolving door syndrome, when they age out of child welfare, they end up on the streets, they commit the minor offenses, they're processed through the court, they get thrown in jail for a couple months, and then when they're released within hours, they're back in there again. So that's what we're working on. Instead of punishing these people and dealing with the people, we'd like to deal with the problems that got them in that situation. It's about healing. It's not about punishing these people. So that's the concept behind Bug Lake. It's all good, and I wish a lot of us, and I know Kerry's been there a couple of years ago, so now we can move into the Chiefs meeting, part of our agenda. So with that, miigwech everyone for your contribution, your stories and everything. I also want to thank Chief Lynn for all the hospitality that they've shown us so far. So miigwech for that, Chief. Miigwech.
Miigwech ugechata. So it is now 11:10, so we need a break. 10-minute break. I'll get the drum to call us back in about 10 minutes or so. Then we'll go into our program for the Chiefs Assembly. I'm going to hand it over to Donna, and she'll take over for this part. So we'll see you back in about 10 minutes. We'll get the drum to call you back.